Alright, what's up, familia? Welcome inside the Big Rig. Hope you guys are doing good. Keeping in between the lines. Got your load secure. Alright, a little nighttime driving. Let's get into a scary trucker story.
For clarification, I'm a guy, and this happened in my early 20s. Before I start, I need to provide a little backstory. I grew up living a very sheltered life, usually only leaving the house for grocery runs and doctor appointments. I didn't even go...
Alright, so just to make it clear, this is somebody reading a trucker story. They're not telling their own stories, so that's why he had to come out and say that he's a guy. Or hang out with a deep voice.
School. My mother decided it was best to homeschool me. I was, and still am, very socially awkward as a result of my upbringing, though I'm getting a lot better. One thing I did leave the house for as a child was to compete in talent competitions. I was a pianist. I still am, though a little rusty. I had a newspaper article published for me once to advertise a fundraising concert I was holding in a local church. I needed funds to go to a competition 1,500 miles away. In the article, the journalist recorded a quote for me. She had asked what I thought of my talent, and being a child in a Christian house, I replied, "It's not my talent, God let me borrow it." Fast forward to adulthood, I was eager to leave the house and to get out on my own. I decided to get my commercial driver's license so I could get out and see as much of the world as I could.
Okay. You know, the piano is one instrument that I would really like to learn, man.
Besides driving long hours and the occasional night of having trouble finding a halfway decent place to park at the end of the day, I enjoyed it all. One night I was pulling into a truck stop to park for the night. As I was taking my dog out to do his business.
Alright, real quick. Talking about finding a halfway decent place to park for the night. Yes, trucker parking can get pretty difficult, you know, especially once you start hitting like the late afternoon into the evening. Trucker parking, it's not that easy where it's just like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna park. No, Charlie, there's a lot of places that don't let you park overnight. Truck stops can be completely jam-packed, if you can even find a truck stop, you know, and it can be pretty tough, man.
I passed by the truck next to mine. It had its driver's side window down, and the driver was sitting in the driver's seat. He called out to me as I passed him, complimenting that he liked my dog and asked if he was friendly. I thanked him and I informed him that my dog was shy of strangers. Being that I sat in the truck all day with no human interaction, besides the occasional honk and a guy flipping me off for being slow, I longed for conversation, and I told him I would be right back. A few minutes later, after putting my dog in my truck, I walked over to talk to my parking spot neighbor. We chatted for a while, with him in his chair and I sitting on the top step on the side of his truck. After about 20 minutes, he asked me if I noticed that his arm had bumped mine 7 times. My arm was on top of his armrest as I clung to the side of his truck. This surprised me. I had not noticed it at all. Thinking back on it, I believe he was testing to see how situationally aware I was.
Okay, that's kind of weird already, man. If somebody says, hey, have you noticed I've bumped your arm 7 times? To me, immediately, I'm thinking this dude, homie, is probably from the other side of the tracks and probably wants that type of action, where at that point, I'm done, homie. So I'm like, all right, babe, man, well, have a good one. And I go back to my truck. Running into a vato that's been a little too lonely out on the road, man.
I told him I had not noticed. It was cold outside, considering it was the middle of winter, so he invited me to sit in his truck to continue our conversation. This is where I should have had alarm bells ringing in my head, but growing up so sheltered, I was too trusting of people, so I entered. We continued to talk, though the conversation started crossing lines, with questions that were too personal for me. He was asking me stuff like, what's your phone number? Who are your parents? What were your grandparents' full names? And where do you live? Etc. Regretfully, I answered him, but thankfully I had the sense to at least not give him my address. We had also swapped seats during the conversation. First he had moved to the passenger seat so I could sit in the driver's seat.
So he answered him. So he gave him his phone number? Damn, dog. What's up with this cat, Holmes? Come on, driver. What are you doing?
Then we swapped to where I was in the passenger seat and he was in the driver's seat. Conversation started to take an even weird and creepier turn. After all those questions, he asked, "Did you notice that my eyes don't have any color?"
Good
His eyes
God.
were a black color, just two black orbs surrounded by the white of his eyes. I later looked this up on Google. There's apparently a rare condition that causes someone's eyes to be so dark brown that they appear black. This is where I started to feel very uneasy. He started talking about my childhood, and this is where he said something that disturbed me the most. "Didn't you have a talent as a kid?" I said yes, and that I played the piano. That's when he replied, "Wouldn't that be a lie since you only borrowed it?" I had not mentioned to him anything about that article, and the city it was from was way too small to be noticed by someone that lived so far away. We were like 2,000 miles away from my hometown. I was ready to get out of there. I was trying to think of how to excuse myself without arousing suspicion. He started trying to convince me to ride with him to his next delivery and to just leave my truck where it was, that he'd bring me back the next day.
What
I
the
declined.
heck? Damn, Dad. The hell? What do you mean you're trying to find a way out of there? You just say, "Hey, dog, you know what? Well, you have a good one, man. I'm going to go back to my truck." But I don't get that. Like, "Oh, you know what? Come on me to my next stop, man, and then I'll bring you back." Damn, Dad, Holmes. What the hell, homie? But yeah, in that case right there, no need to be polite or anything like that, Holmes. You just say, "You know what? I'm going to go back to my truck, or I'm going to go inside," whatever it is, man. All right, have a good one.
He then asked if I would come visit him at his home. Again, I declined. It had been a while now, so I decided to tell him I needed to take my dog out to do his business again, so he didn't go in my truck. I exited his truck and took my dog out again, but this time when my dog was done, I went back to my truck and locked the doors. I also tilted both seats forward, so it would be difficult for him if he tried entering my truck, buying me
Okay.
time if I needed. The next morning he was gone. I continued on my day, relieved that I was away from him. A few hours later, he called me. "So why did you tilt your seats forward last night?" I told him it was to keep my dog from jumping on it.
Damn, see? Why this fool give him his phone number? Ah, dog, what a fool, Holmes. Okay, so what he's talking about there, you put your seats, the seats that you sit on, you put them all the way forward, so in case somebody tries to break into the window or whatever, they just can't come in so easily, right? Or they pop the door open some way, somehow. But just in case they break in the window or break the window, they just can't, dive in there. It's like the seats forward. They got a little bit, I mean, they're going to get in there, right? But it's going to take them a little bit of time. Gives you time, if you're sleeping in a sleeper, to get up, homie, so you can be ready to handle some business,
Continued to talk to me, though I kept my answers short this time. I blocked his number after he hung up and later decided to change my phone number. I know I was lucky that it didn't go farther than a creepy conversation. I'm more careful now about who I talk to and where I am. Moral of the story, be careful everyone. Never get into a stranger's vehicle, no matter how friendly and innocent they seem. I've learned my lesson.
Damn. Moral of the story is what? Don't talk to strangers? Yeah, you know what? You could start chopping it up with drivers and everything. You could be friendly and all that good stuff, man. But yeah, you definitely got to be aware, Holmes. Look, I always say, man, shouts to all the troqueros out there, right? But hey, Holmes, if I'm gonna be honest, you got some truckers, homie, some drivers are some straight weirdos, dog. Just weird characters. You gotta remember, some drivers, man, some of these jobs, you're out there by yourself, alone. I don't know what who's got going up in their head and everything like that. So getting into another driver's truck, it's not that off, but I mean, I'd rather not, know, unless you're checking it out like the custom job that they did. But outside of that, it's like, hey, come in the truck and let's have a conversation or something. I mean, if you know the driver a little bit or something like that, and it's like, hey, you know what, let's go to the truck and let's, you know, eat, get the grub on, you got some food or whatever, something like that, right? But some food that you just met, it's like, nah, it's all good, especially, at certain times, there's no time to be polite, homie. You know, you just gotta be like, hey, you know what, man, I'm gonna go back to my truck. Oh, you know why? Because I'm going back to my truck. That's why, dog. And if need be, you just tell them, hey, you know what? Because you're weird, dog. That's why. All right, with your weird ass questions, with your creepiness, man, your damn creepy, super dark brown eyes. This was time of the story. Anyway, man, I'll go ahead and leave it there, Holmes. All right. Okay. So what do you say? The moral of the story? I forgot, man. Don't get into strangers' cars or trucks, whatever, man. As always, live your life like you're on the road. Be aware of your surroundings. And always keep a safe distance. Blood, make sure you have below teammates, fam. Until next time, this is Ed the Tall Trucker. Over and out.